Yo, what's good guys? Tiger here, and today is the day guys. This is the day that we rank all of these fucking maps in Modern Warfare. It's about time. I've got the list in front of me. I've got a tier list, so let's just get into this. Now, I'm going to be brutal, but most importantly, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to stay true to myself. Now, how I'm ranking these maps, I'm ranking them on map design, how good they are for all game modes, as well as how good they are for the amount of players that go on that map. So whether it's a 6v6, 10v10, or a ground war 32 versus 32 game mode. So we are going to be covering all of the normal multiplayer maps, all of the ground war maps. We're going to leave out the 2v2 gunfight maps for this video. If you do want to see that and hear my opinions on that, I can of course do that, that's not a problem. But let's just focus on the multiplayer and ground war maps for this video. So let's start off with the worst tier. This tier is called Shipment because it fucking is an absolute god-awful map. This map is just ass. I don't know why they changed it and why they haven't reverted the changes, but Shipment was always a bit of a weird map. We've seen it in so many CODs now, and you know what you're getting into when you load up a Shipment game. You know it's going to be crazy, you know it's going to be hectic, but there was still the map design that you could rely on. And if you did want to play a little bit cautious, just kind of hold a corner of the map, you could do that. But for some reason, I don't know if it's the changes that they've made to the map or they've just completely fucked the spawns, but this map is just completely fucked. There is nothing good with this map, and I don't understand anyone who likes this map. The only reason I've been playing it recently is purely just to complete camos. There is no fun that comes out of this map because the spawns are just everywhere. When I saw the new changes for this map, I thought that it could be okay, but it's not. It really isn't. It's just awful, and I hate it. It's just not a good map. It's just pure luck. Okay, now let's move on to the D tier. Now, I've got 3 maps in this tier. The first one is EUPHRATES Bridge. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that first word properly, but let's just call it the bridge map. This is not a great map. It's not a good map. It's very one-sided. This map just has so many angles. There's not really any place that is safe, and it is very, very hard to push past the halfway line if one team has complete control of the bridge as well as underneath it, because there are just so many lines that are being held, and it's just, there's not really that many game modes that you can play on this. Team deathmatch, kill confirmed, domination, any other game mode is just going to be complete ass. So I do think that a lot of you are going to agree with the bridge map going in the D tier. Next up, we have a ground war map, and it's TAVORSK District. This map is, it's not terrible. It's quite good for unlocking camo challenges, and there are certain parts of this map that I do like, but it's very, very vertical. And my biggest problem with this map is not necessarily the buildings that you can get on top of that are towards the center of the map. It is all of the buildings that are on the outskirts of the map that snipers love to climb and just stay on. That for me is the most annoying part. If you just had those kind of like middle buildings, those buildings that are near the flags, those skyscrapers that you could climb on, that would be fine. But all of the others that are right out of the way, for me, that is just really annoying. I think this map would have been better if they just made it narrower so you couldn't go as far to the sides and scale as many buildings. But there are also just other problems. Helicopters are just worth so much more because if you can get a helicopter, you can then land on top of a building that the enemy occupy, and you can get a 5-piece fairly easily if they're not paying attention. And then whenever you are on the floor, whenever you are on the street, you just really do not feel safe because there's just so many people with long-ranged weapons just aiming down at you. And that is why this map is in the D tier, because there's not really that many parts of the map where you feel safe. Okay, the other map that I've got here is RAMMAZA. Now, this map is played competitively. I've seen it in Search and Destroy, and there are aspects of this map that I kind of like, but overall I just think it's a very, very campy map. and it doesn't really flow that well. There's some really dodgy line of sights that if an enemy is mounted up just staring down them, you can just easily just get beamed if you just show your face. This map only has 2 lanes pretty much. One lane is very, very narrow, and the other just has so many line of sights. So there's not really that much to say about this map. It reminds me a bit of Morocco from Black Ops 4, but even that was a better map than this. Okay, moving into the C tier. The first one is another ground war map, and it is the port one, the newest out of the 4 ground war maps. And the reason why it's C tier, honestly, I would love to put it higher, because the actual ground game, when you're on the ground and playing, I think it's really, really good. So I would have put it in the B tier, but the reason why I can't is because of those sniper spots. You can climb on top of those cranes, and that can just be really frustrating. Also, where the D flag is, there's lots of people that are on the roof of that, as well as the people who sit on the roof of the C flag. That can be really frustrating. Also, there's a gas station that's really out of the way near one of the spawns, near the C flag, that a lot of snipers sit on. That's frustrating. Honestly, it really is the sniping spots that ruin it for me. I feel like the ground game is fairly decent. The D building isn't too bad. I love the action that goes on towards the B flag. Same with the C flag, because that's the vacant map, the map that we all remember from the original Modern Warfare, so that's quite fun. And I love spawn trapping the team near the E flag. I've got so many kills in between D and E and the spawn. I like that. There's a bit too much of a space between the B and A flag. You really do just have to sprint towards those shipping containers and hope that you don't get killed by a tank or a sniper or someone who's just pitching a tent somewhere. So I'd love to put port higher, but it's just the sniping spots for me that ruins this map. Okay, next up in the C tier we have ARKLOV Peak. Now, for me, it's just boring. I just think it's really boring, and it's a bit too spaced out. Like, the whole cemetery side of the map is just way too open. It reminds me of Wasteland from Modern Warfare 2. What, even though that is an OG COD, that is a shit map. I don't care what you say. That is such a boring shit map. It was fine if you're using the intervention with thermal scope, but anything else, and it was just horrible. But nonetheless, ARKLOV Peak, I think the rotations for hardpoint are trash. I don't like that. The middle part of the map is pretty decent, but that is really the only part of the map I like. You can also get spawn trapped when you're near the barn spawn. That can be really horrible to get out of. But I just think this map is just too boring and too spaced out. Next up in the C tier is quite a popular map. Lots of people have an opinion on this one, and it is Piccadilly. I genuinely believe that you cannot make a good map that has a circular map design. I feel like when you've got a map that's very spherical and isn't just straight up and down, it really does cause problems. I think the concept of the map is nice, and there's certain aspects of it that I really like. I think for Hardpoint, it's a decent map. I quite like it on Hardpoint. I've seen people play it for Search and Destroy, and it seems to be okay, but in pubs, I just feel like you can just get killed anywhere, and that is probably the most annoying part of this map. Because it's so spherical, you really can just get caught at any line of sight, and it can be very frustrating. But this map used to be worse. The spawn traps used to be hideous. They fixed them now, what's better, but it's still not a great map in all honesty. I used to like it. I'm fairly good at this map, but it's not a great map. Okay, now moving on to the B tier. These are all maps that I like in all honesty. I think they're all good maps. B tier to the A tier to the S tier are all good maps in my opinion. I'm not saying they're the best or they're amazing maps. I'm just saying they're good. So first off in the B tier is ANIYAH Palace. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that first word properly. I know how to say palace. I don't know why I said the first word. I'm obviously talking about ANIYAH. But the only reason why I've put this in the B tier is I'm rating this as a ground war map. I think as a 10v10 map, it's pretty bad. It's just far too open and it does not suit it. But for a ground war map, I think it's really, really good. It suits that game mode so well. Next up, we have AZHIR Cave. I actually really like this map. I know a lot of people don't, and I think the cave part of the map can be really hard to traverse. You can move up slowly, and then just get deleted out of nowhere. But I feel like as we've started to play this map more, understand it, we know where the popular parts of the map is, I think it's a fairly decent map. I think it's really good for pretty much all of the game modes. I think it's fun to watch. I think it's fun to play. I really like the outside part of the map. The whole centre of the map is good. I like the flank routes. So overall, I actually like this map. I do not think it's bad at all. Okay, the next map is probably a controversial one, and it is GRAZNA Raid. Now, I think the map design for GRAZNA is really, really good. Its downfall, why it's in the B tier and not higher, is because for 6v6, it's just terrible. If you play hardpoint on GRAZNA Raid, it's just so boring. I think for 10v10, it's probably the minimum. I think 15 versus 15, or even 20 versus 20, I know those game modes don't exist, but I think those amount of players would make this map really, really good. I know there are tons of line of sight, and we'd probably get trashed, and you'd probably get deleted from so many angles, so maybe I'm wrong with saying 15 versus 15 or 20 versus 20, but I just think this map is too big for 6v6, and that is why it's down on the list. But I fairly like the map design. Yes, there are too many line of sight. I think it suits Modern Warfare quite well. Next up, we have VACANT, what is an OG map from the original Modern Warfare. I've always liked VACANT. I've always thought it's a good map. Really good search and destroy map. They've opened up a few new parts for Modern Warfare. I don't think this map is the best for Modern Warfare. I think it is better for the original Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. But nonetheless, I think it is a good map. Okay, next up we have KARST River Quarry. And I think this is a really decent ground war map. It's fairly straight up and down. There are lots of buildings that you can get on top of, what in all honesty I think just expands the map. I think the map design is really well. You can really move up the map methodically and not necessarily feel trapped. I think all of the flags are in really good places, and overall I just think it's a very, very solid ground war map. Very, very good. I think they could potentially make this into a smaller map for 6v6 or 10v10 if they just took a portion of this map, but this is definitely one of my favourite ground war maps to play, plus you can complete a whole lot of camo challenges on this map. Okay, last in the B tier is Petrograd. Now, I think the map design for this is very, very good. I just think it's a bit boring. I don't know about you guys, but I do think the map design is good. I think there's lots of different areas that you can explore. You can get a little bit trapped at times, and it can be annoying when there's just people camping in those two main buildings towards the centre of the map. But if you're playing hardpoint or search and destroy, it's a really fun map to play. And there is a lot that you can do, and that is why I've got it in the B tier. It could be higher. I just think it's a little boring, and I'd like to know what you guys think as well. Okay, next up we have the A tier maps. Now, first off we have Shoot House. I think Shoot House is a really good map design for Modern Warfare. I think when they added Shoot House in, I think a lot of people started enjoying Modern Warfare a whole lot more, because it really is what Modern Warfare needed. If only they made Shipment a little bigger, a similar size to Shoot House, we'd have two really fast-paced maps that a lot of people would enjoy. Because I know a lot of you who have not enjoyed Modern Warfare, the reason is because it can be quite a slow and campy game, but when you're playing Shoot House and Shipment, it's very fast and frantic, and that's what a lot of people like to see in a Call of Duty. And I think Shoot House just does it really, really well. Good for all game modes. And as small maps go, I think it's really good. Okay, next up we have Crash, what is another OG map from the original Modern Warfare. Crash is just a solid map. I really, really like it. I would put it in the S tier if they didn't open up that really stupid head glitch next to that broken blue building. What were they doing? You know that building towards the centre of the map? They have now opened up the courtyard behind it, and there's a really dirty head glitch where you can stand on a air conditioning unit and you can look out towards the 3-storey building restaurant. If they didn't open up that and just kept it very similar to the original map design, it would definitely be S tier, because it's just such a solid map, good for all game modes, and that is why I've had to put it in the A tier. Okay, now moving on to the S tier, and I've got 3 maps here. The first one is the Ground War Farm map. I think that is just an absolute great map. That really is perfect for Ground War. The action pretty much is all kept towards the middle. The snipers who like to stay on one of the sides, they're fairly easy to kill because they don't have that much cover. That is what makes it really good. I think it utilises the vehicles really well and you can really get around. And because it can be quite wide, the boundaries go quite wide, but they're really out of the action, you can use those to flank. So whenever spawn traps start to occur, you do have that option to go hop on an ATV and just flank around the whole map and then take another flag. And even though that a lot of the action is in buildings on this map, I think it's really easy to get from one building to another, and they're fairly easy to flush out. It's not like TAVORSK district where they can just set up claymores or just camp near the elevators. You can get into any building, you can move around the map fairly easy without feeling too scared that there's just some newbie camper waiting to snipe you. Okay, next up we have Gun Runner, and this is probably my favourite map in Modern Warfare. I think it's good for all game modes. I think every part of the map is fairly solid. I think it was a lot of fun watching it in the CDL, watching it in both Domination and Hardpoint. Now it is a map that I've been absolutely slapped on plenty of times by some really good MP5 players. But there's nothing I can do about that, and I can't hate on the map for that. And I think a lot of you guys like Gun Runner as well, so let me know in the comment section if Gun Runner is one of your favourite maps. But my next map is probably one of your favourites as well. It is Hackney Yard. I feel like a lot of UK based maps seem to do really well in COD. I know Piccadilly was questionable, but London Docks in COD World War II was a classic, and I feel that Hackney Yard is another solid map. It's a fairly small map in comparison to most of the maps, obviously nothing compared to Shoot House or Shipment, but I think it's a map design that you can use pretty much any weapon on. I think it's fairly solid. Traversing around the map is fairly nice, and I think the opening and closing of all the doors really does suit this map well, and I think it's a map that just plays well for Modern Warfare. Okay guys, so that is my list of all of the maps, all of the main maps, ranking them from shit tier to S tier. Now obviously these are only my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I don't expect any of you to fully agree with me on this list, as it is just a completely personal list. But let me know in the comment section which maps you feel most passionate about. But that is it for today's video guys. If you did enjoy and you want to see more, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to stay updated on all of my latest content. But that's all from me. Take care and I'll see you in the next video.